Hey, 42 here. How would you dispose of a body? There are countless ways, or so I've been told. But one 20th century Italian woman had a method of disposing of bodies that even Mrs. Lovett and her pies would have been disgusted by. Serial killer Leonarda Cianciulli turned her victims into bars of soap and tea cakes. And that's not even the worst bit. But before we get into that, let's learn a little about what drove her to murder in the first place. Psychologists have long believed that an unsteady upbringing can contribute to one becoming a psychotic murderer. Both Stalin and Hitler had a highly dysfunctional childhood. Leonarda Cianciulli is no exception to this rule. She was born out of rape in 1894 in Montella, Italy. Her mother never wanted her, yet she was left with no choice but to raise her. Safe to say, Leonarda had a rather dysfunctional upbringing. At the age of 23, Leonarda defiantly married a local registry clerk, against the wishes of her parents. Her mother was so upset with her that she cursed the newlyweds. Leonarda had always been a highly superstitious and paranoid person, so she took a lot of offence to this curse. Things quickly got worse from here. Leonarda got pregnant 17 times. 3 were lost to miscarriages, and 10 others died when they were very young. Who knows whether this was just a series of extremely unfortunate coincidences, or had she really succumbed to the evil ways of her mother's curse? Needless to say, Leonarda became ultra protective over her 4 remaining children. She sought help by visiting a fortune teller, who decided that this poor woman's life wasn't already tragic enough and told her that she would either end up in prison or a criminal asylum. Despite being an ultra-paranoid potential psychopath on the brink of a mental breakdown, all was going well for a while for Leonarda and her 4 children, until one of their lives came under threat. In 1939, her eldest son decided to fight for the Italian army in World War II. Leonarda didn't like this and couldn't bear the thought of losing another child, so she came up with a genius plan. She concluded that if she found another human sacrifice, they would surely take her son's place in the afterlife, and so her son would somehow be supernaturally protected from death. And so she set out to find her victim. Leonarda was actually an amateur fortune teller herself, and she often practiced on the local women in her village. Now, I'm not sure exactly how you practice fortune telling, presumably you just keep on guessing until you get something right. She chose her first victim carefully. Faustina Setti was a client of Leonarda's, and during one session, Leonarda told a depressed and helpless Faustina that she would find the husband of her dreams and her life would be all rosy if she were to leave town and travel to a neighbouring town. She also cleverly instructed Faustina that she must immediately write letters to all her friends and family, informing them that she intended to travel to another town to find a husband. And so Leonarda thought she had created the groundwork for the perfect murder. Faustina visited Leonarda one last time before she left town. Leonarda poured 2 glasses of wine as a toast to Faustina's new life in her new town. Of course, Faustina's wine was drugged with sedatives. After she was out cold, Leonarda bludgeoned her helpless victim to death with an axe. And so began Leonarda's twisted method of disposing of the corpse. First, she chopped the corpse into 9 equal-sized pieces to make it more manageable. She drained the blood, then put the dried pieces into a giant pot along with caustic soda, a primary ingredient in soap making. And yes, she then turned the corpse bits into bars of soap, which seems almost comical when you learn what she did with the blood from the body. Leonarda dried the blood in an oven, mixed it with eggs, flour, sugar, milk, chocolate and margarine. Because, you know, if you're going to make delicious delicacies out of dead humans, at least have the decency to make them low fat. She then baked this sickening mixture into Italian tea cakes. And then she shared the tea cakes around her neighbours. Even more disturbingly, Leonarda and her son ate them up also. Leonarda went on to carry out the same murderous process on 2 more of her female fortune-telling clients. Her final victim was a local soprano called Virginia Cacioppo. Leonardo later wrote in her memoirs that she had flesh that was fat and white, and apparently she made a most acceptable creamy soap. Also, Leonardo noted that Cacioppo made the best tea cakes so far, quoting, "That woman was really sweet." The words don't even exist to describe how truly disturbed this woman was. But the sweet taste wouldn't last too long, because the sister of Leonardo's final victim grew suspicious of her disappearance, and she informed the police that she had last seen her sister, Virginia Cacioppo, entering the home of Leonardo Cianciulli. Leonardo was swiftly arrested, and she confessed to all of her messed up soapy tea cake murders. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a criminal asylum for the mentally ill. Just as the fortune teller had predicted all those years ago. Thanks for watching. If we go back to the Middle Ages, or even all the way back to the Roman Empire, was life ever any better than it is right now? Andrew Wakefield published a research paper claiming that there is a strong link between vaccinations and the onset of autism.